So I'm inviting you to make transitions of consciousness into different centrifugal fields in the universe states. That's what the optimistical universe is, a spectrum of vibrational states of consciousness. The mystical universe is a tool or an aid for our transition into different levels of consciousness. And I have to give you a little warning or a heads up of some of the unintended consequences of transitioning from one field of consciousness into another. Ideal, pecking order-ish, they're all a part of the spin field of the earth. Now, we were born into the spin field of the earth. As a matter of fact, as I say, we were born into spin, not into sin. So we were born into this field, this spinning field, the consequences of which are pecking orders and territorialism. We're born into this field of the spinning of the earth. As we make our transition, as we're alive and transitioning into the spin field of the sun, there's different consequences there. The sun actually vivifies its whole territory. Its reason for being is to vivify space. So naturally you would think that as soon as I move into the spin field of the sun, my essence would just be vivifying space, just like the sun does. Now that's essentially true. But what happens is there's residues of the spin field of the earth that are carried up for a while into the spin field of the sun, and that extra energy can give extra force to these pyramidal, territorial kind of strivings that are a result of these residues that you were leaving behind. So you have to be prepared for that. And I liken it to if you had a lawnmower running on gasoline, your little chucker lawnmower, and all of a sudden you put jet fuel in it, and that lawnmower is liable just to explode with the extra energy. It's the same way as if you get extra energy from a higher field into a lower mechanism. It can warp it out of proportion. Now, above the sun, or at the sun and above, there are other fields to move into. But when you move up into, say, the spin field of the sun, and you take residual pecking order stuff with you. So you have to be prepared for that. You might feel like all of a sudden you're the smartest person in the world, the top dog in the pecking order of philosophers. You might think you're the messiah of the universe because you're at the top, the peak, because of all these things, a dictator, whatever. This is just because of the residues of the pecking order mentality caused by the spin field of the earth that we've been born into. Are doing. Your consciousness, you've moved into another level. You can see both at once. And what I've found is you have like a double-minded sensation where you actually feel your participation in the spin field of the earth and feel your participation in the spin field of the sun simultaneously. Because in the whole end of this whole process, we are going to be simultaneously hooked up to all these fields at once. It's not a hierarchy. It's an octave. But that's going on a little bit farther down the road. We can all, as we understand this optimistical universe, we can look at it as if it's a hierarchy. But that's because we're looking through our hierarchical minds caused by the spinning of the earth. But it isn't a hierarchy. It's actually an octave. It's a complete octave. It's a do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do octave. No hierarchy there, just notes. And that's a spectrum of like colors. Like red's no more important than purple. They're just vibrational states. That's what the optimistical universe is. A spectrum of vibrational states of consciousness. And so be aware that as you're making your transitions, there's going to be residues. Be honest with them. Don't bad vibe them, anything like that. The higher fields help you heal the lower stuff that's going on. Okay, that's my warning. And I'll say one more thing about the sun, which is very interesting. There's 3 themes in the sun. The first theme is the sun gives energy in a downward arc into the earth. The second theme of the sun is the sun has relationships with other stars in the galaxy, an equality of relationship. And the third one is together these stars form a galaxy, which is a uplifting, ascending kind of energy. So when you move into the spin field of the sun and get a relationship with that level of this cosmology, this universal cosmology, you're going to be having those 3 kinds of feelings going on and ideas coming on from those levels. And again, the reason why people think that God's at the top of a pyramid is because they're in the spinasium of the earth, and top dog is the ultimate thing for the spinasium of the earth. And added to that, this downward rushing energy from the sun into the earth kind of is something pushing down on us. It feels like it must be like God or something. It isn't. It's just the energies coming out of the sun, descending into the earth and vivifying the planet. And that's our transition. That's some of the underlying superstructure that I've found. And I'm sure you'll be discovering more for yourselves as you move through these transitions of the OptiMystical Universe, these various centrifugal fields. Okay, that's my little warning. My little be aware of this, my little heads up as your head goes up. Okay, like I say, unfasten your seatbelts. Unfasten your seatbelts from the spinasium of the earth, because we're about to take off into these different universal fields. Peace.